This is African Icons. Today we'll be looking at the rise and fall of Patrice Lumumba. Patrice Lumumba was born on 2nd July 1925 in Katakombe in the Sankuru province in the Democratic Republic of Congo, which was then under Belgian colonial rule. Lumumba began his education at a Catholic mission school which was situated in his hometown. He continued his further education at a Protestant mission school also situated in his hometown. It is important to mention that these schools were run by Belgian missionaries and they placed an emphasis on manual labor and developing basic literacy skills of the natives. The natives in the then Belgian Congo only had limited access to education as they were confined to only primary education, which meant that they could not advance to professions such as medicine, law, and engineering, and the only jobs available to them were rudimentary. Patrice Lumumba moved to Stanleyville, now modern-day Kisangani, in 1947. He found employment as a post clerk with the colonial administration in Stanleyville. This move was pivotal in his life as it exposed him to political ideals such as anti-colonialism and ignited a spirit of African nationalism and independence. Lumumba started reading broadly and commenced writing for local publications. He would subsequently be employed at a local brewery as a sales director, which would enable him to traverse across the country and encounter influential individuals. In 1956, Lumumba traveled to Belgium. He was part of a tour study group that was set up by the colonial administration. The motive of the visit was to promote life in Belgium to Congolese civil servants. It is also important to note that he obtained the status of an évolué, which is a coveted status that was issued to native Congolese citizens who were thought to be sufficiently educated and were eloquent and had a strong command in the French language. Évolués were issued a certain card which gave them access to specific privileges such as living in European areas, access to certain jobs and housing, and were legally distinguished from ordinary African citizens. After Lumumba returned to the Congo from Belgium, he was arrested on fabricated charges of embezzlement in the brewery where he was employed. He ended up being incarcerated for 12 months. In October 1958, Lumumba founded the Mouvement National Congolais, which is a nationalist political party with the motive of obtaining Congolese independence and uniting the Congolese population who were divided on ethnic and regional lines. Shortly after establishing the MNC, Lumumba traveled to the newly independent Ghana to attend the All Africans People Conference, which was hosted by Ghana's first president and Pan-Africanist Kwame Nkrumah. There, Lumumba met other African revolutionaries and returned home even more convinced. The time for Congolese independence had arrived and it would come through unity, not division. In January 4th, 1959, what began as a political meeting turned into a national awakening. In the heart of Leopoldville, now Kinshasa, thousands of Congolese gathered to attend a rally organized by the Bako Party, led by Joseph Kasavubu. The Belgian colonial authorities, fearing unrest, banned the meeting at the last minute. The people didn't leave. Instead, anger erupted in the streets. What followed was a massive uprising. Congolese citizens attacked symbols of power, of colonial power, police posts, European-owned shops, government buildings. Belgian police and military responded with brutal force. Over the next 4 days, the violence left at least 49 Congolese dead. Some estimates say over 100. Hundreds more were injured or arrested. The Belgian government, shocked by the scale of the rebellion, could no longer deny the truth. The Congolese were no longer asking for freedom. They were demanding it. The riots became a turning point. Within weeks, Belgium announced it would begin negotiations for Congo's independence. For leaders like Lumumba, who were long warned of the dangers of ignoring popular demands, this was both vindication and a call to act faster. 1960 independence. In June 1960, the Belgians finally heeded to the exhortations and agitations of the Congolese for independence. They granted independence to Congo on the 30th of June 1960. However, briefly after independence, chaos erupted as there was an army mutiny, and the mutiny was led by native Congolese army soldiers who demanded for instant Africanization of the military leadership, better payment and treatment for the Belgian officer leadership in the army. And in this crisis caused a mass exodus of Belgian citizens who fled the country to escape the widespread violence. Simultaneously, there was a secessionist attempt by the southern province of Katanga, led by Moise Tshombe, who was the governor of the province. Katanga was a mineral-rich province as it possessed vast deposits of minerals such as copper and cobalt. The Belgians saw an opportunity to regain control of the province, so they supported the Tshombe's secession movement. Lumumba responded by appealing for the United Nations support. However, the move was not effective, so an ever-desperate Lumumba was compelled to turn to the Soviet Union. The move rang the alarm bells of the United States, who already suspected Lumumba to be a communist. As this was the peak of the Cold War, and the USA did not want resources such as the uranium of the Congo to fall under the hands of the Soviet Union, and wanted to prevent Soviet influence in Africa. With the Congo split and foreign powers circling, the Congo was descending into a deeper crisis, one that would unfortunately cost Lumumba his power and ultimately his life. By late 1960, the dream was dying. Patrice Lumumba, once the voice of a new Congo, had been dismissed, hunted, and betrayed. After a military coup led by Colonel Joseph Mobutu, Lumumba was placed under house arrest. He attempted to flee to Zalas in Stanleyville, but was captured and imprisoned by Mobutu's forces. On January 17, 1961, Lumumba was secretly flown to the breakaway province of Katanga, the very region he had condemned as a puppet of Belgian imperialism. There, under the supervision of Belgian officers and Kantangese authorities, Lumumba was tortured, beaten, and executed. Alongside two of his closest allies, Maurice Mpolo and Joseph Okito, his body was buried, then exhumed, dismembered, and dissolved in acid. A desperate attempt to erase his existence, but they couldn't erase his voice. Years later, Belgium would finally admit its role in Lumumba's death. In 2022, they returned the only known remnant of his body, a single gold-capped tooth, to his family, a grim relic of a leader who dared to defy the Belgian colonial empire. But Lumumba was more than a martyr. He was a symbol, a fire that lit the path for future generations. A reminder that the struggle for dignity is long, and the price of freedom is often paid in blood. His final letter to his wife read, "I die with my head held high. Long live the Congo, long live the Congo, long live Africa." This is African Icons, and this was the rise and fall of Patrice Lumumba. If you enjoyed the video, please leave a like and subscribe. Thank you.